Thank you for meeting with me this evening. I also want to thank you for all your patience, all your support, as we've been trying very hard to keep school going under these challenging circumstances. While school is important, though, I just want to take a moment, and I hope that everyone is doing well. I know there's a lot going on. I hope all of you and all your loved ones are healthy and doing the best that we can underneath the circumstances. I know right now everyone in my family is healthy, but we're all feeling a little stressed between having to work from home, having to teach our kids while we're at home. I'm in the same position that you are. I am working during the day while still trying to teach Evan and Julian during the day, the same thing. So I understand a lot of the stresses that you're going under, and that and a lot of the frustrations as we deal with issues with Class Dojo or with iReady not working the way we'd like it to. So again, I want to thank you for your patience. And moving on from there, if anyone needs additional resources, if there's any help that you need, you don't have to announce it now, but you can send me an email. There are resources available to help everyone through the school, starting with meals. There are 2 meals provided every day. They're no longer being offered from Sunset Park. They're all being it's been centralized to area high schools. If you live in the area for Sunset Park, the closest distribution center is Killian Senior High School. But food is also being distributed at Braddock Senior High, Southwest Senior High, Ferguson Senior, Varela Senior. All of our local senior high schools are providing meals from 4 to 7. The idea being you pick it up on Monday, and that's the 2 meals for Tuesday. I think they shifted the times so that parents who are could grab them after work, as opposed to trying to get them the day of. Also, if anyone needs a device, there are still some available. If you email me, I can pass it on to Mrs. Hernandez, and then she can pass it on to get you a device if you need one. If you're having trouble with internet, right now Comcast has a basic internet package that is free for Dade Schools students. So if internet access is an issue, there are resources there. We're trying to make everything as accessible as possible. We don't want technology to be a barrier to the education process right now. In addition to that, if you look on the Dade Schools webpage, there is a specific link there dedicated to distance learning. Has a couple of these things there, but also has resources and different FAQs if you have questions. And of course, at any time if you have questions, go ahead. You can send me a message on Class Dojo or send me a email. I am answering questions as quickly as I can and as helpfully as I can. A lot of the times, the issues and frustrations we're having is system issues, as systems that weren't designed for this quantity of use are being overwhelmed, and there's a lot of lag going on. So that's what we see that happening with iReady and Class Dojo, and even with the science book. If you have any questions as I'm going along, I think I'm going to answer a lot of questions as I go, and there's going to be time for questions at the end. You can either send them in the chat so I can look at later, that way you don't forget what they are, and I'll come back to it at the end. Or you can, like I said, there'll be time for questions at the end. So by now, I hope you all are aware that this is going to be going on for longer than expected. Distance learning, this setting is at least going on through April 30th. And that is, I suppose we could call that an aspirational goal at this point. We are hoping to be back in our building at some point, but we are all following the guidelines of our government to keep everyone safe. So Monday starts distance learning 2.0. We have transitioned. We said, okay, we're going to try this for 2 weeks. We had a chance to figure out what's working, how to adjust it, and now we've made those adjustments. And on Monday, distance learning 2.0 begins. And the first thing we have to be aware of is that attendance starts on Monday. Now, there is not a set time that your child has to take attendance. And attendance is being taken, oh, one moment. So there are people in the waiting room that I had to add on. Attendance is being taken simply through your child logging into the student portal. So most of your students are doing that every day already. If they're accessing iReady, Reflex Math, Discovery Education, or the Science Book or Khan Academy, any of those resources are all available through the student portal. So if they're logging into the student portal to get to those resources, they're being marked as present. They only need to log in once a day, and there's no set time. If they were waking up early in the morning and they're doing their work starting at 8, that's fine. But some students are having to go to work with their parents, and they can't start their work they can't start their schoolwork until the workday is over. So if they log in at 5 o'clock in the afternoon, that's fine. They are counted as present for that day. So at some point during the day, they simply have to log into the student portal to be marked present for the day. If for some reason there is an absence, you can send me an email within the next 3 days, the 3 days following the absence, and I pass it on to Ms. Hernandez, and then she will deal with the absence as far as excusing it and dealing with it. It shouldn't be a big deal. Just send me an email. Oh, I just forgot to log in that day, or something happened that day. Send me an email and we'll take care of it. The expectations right now for our school is to try and minimize educational loss. We've called this before the summer slide, where we experience it at the beginning of every school year, where students have naturally regressed over the summer because they haven't been in school for June, July, August. Well, now they're kind of having that, but starting in March. So what we want to do right now is minimize that slide to have them as prepared as possible for the following year, right? At this point, everyone is on track for promotion. No one was in danger of failing before this, and we're not going to lower anyone's grade or retain anyone based upon what's happening now during our distance learning. So everyone's on track for promotion. But we want to make sure that all the first graders are going to have success in second grade, and all the second graders are going to have success in third grade. So we're trying to minimize that slide. Now, at the same time, it is not practical or healthy for your child to be sitting in front of a computer for 8 days looking at my face on a screen. My wife can't do that for 8 hours. So there are expectations that the school day is not going to be as long. The expectation is that they're going to have to take breaks to do this. It's not that they have to sit at the computer for 4 hours. Okay, these 4 hours are school time and that's it. It's okay to, okay, we're going to work on math for a little bit, take a break, okay? Or maybe it's not just take a break. Maybe it's, well, let's work on art now. Or let's come back and let's do science later. So it's very self-paced right now, and that's fine. We want to keep this low stress so that this does not become a burden for our kids, right? However, we still want to have face-to-face interactions. It's important that your kids see me and that I see them, and they know that school even though this is not our regular setting, that school is still going on and school still matters. So starting on Monday, we're going to have daily Zoom meetings. I'm going to be posting, Ms. Vega and I, we're both doing this, are posting a schedule. We're getting it approved now with administration. They want to look over and make sure there's no conflicts. But either tomorrow or over the weekend, that you're going to have a schedule of when Zoom meetings are going to occur. Now, it's going to be a half-hour meeting with me, and then at different time, a half-hour meeting with Ms. Vega. These Zoom sessions in a half hour can't replace a full day's instruction, and they're not designed to, that's not their goal. What we're doing now is a flipped classroom concept, where the time with the teacher is more like a recitation session, where the lessons are happening at home at their own pace, and then they come back to us and say, okay, you know what? I did that lesson on Khan Academy, but I'm still not sure about this question on area. Can you help me with that, Mr. Slater? Or, you know, I read this book on Mayan, Ms. Vega, and I'm not quite getting what the author was doing at this point. Can we talk about that? So that's more of the goal for the Zoom meeting. We're going to review, we're going to introduce, but it's not going to be the same thing as the instruction they've been receiving throughout the year. Now, if you are looking at the list of participants, I just want to go over a couple of Zoom protocols we're going to be following. You can have a list of participants up on your screen, and right now I have them all up there, and you'll notice names are there. That is what we want to see, but I know someone is listed as iPhone. And some people don't have last names, meaning once I see your face, I know who you are, but sometimes I don't know exactly who's who. Now, I'm not going to have that issue with your students, but we do want to have, everyone should have their name show up as a participant. So when you log in, you probably had an option for what your name is. You might have just clicked OK without paying attention to it. Let's try and have everyone log in with their name. When we're having a Zoom meeting, that is more of a classroom setting. I know we're at home, but behavior during the Zoom meeting is expected to be as if we're in school. We're here to help and support and not be a distraction. So with that in mind, we want to make sure we're appropriately dressed. So I do want to see your kids. I want to see their faces. It makes me happy. I don't want to see them in their pajamas. So make sure they're dressed, like, I'm not saying they have to be in school uniform, but just so they're dressed appropriately. One of my colleagues was telling me also that this was a high school teacher, that they didn't want to miss the instruction, so they got up and took the computer with them when they had to go use the restroom. Let's not do that either. It's okay if you need to use the restroom, you can get up and come back. So we just want to have some common courtesy. We want to make sure we're in a quiet area. I know sometimes that can be hard. During spring break, my wife and I redesigned our office, so now I have this lovely library back here. Actually, I don't. We did redesign our office, but I'm using a virtual background. And before you say anything, I am not sitting in the bathroom, which is what everyone seems to think. We have open shelving behind us, so we want to cover. So most of the time now, I'm using a virtual background. And Mr. Sherman, I think I'm going to have to steal your Millennium Falcon cockpit now that I can think about that. I'd love that. But we do this. I have a quiet area, and Evan and Julian are set up in a quiet area, and then Carolyn is set up in a different area because she likes to sing as loud as she can, and it distracts Julian and Evan when they're doing their work. So we do want to have a quiet area. And then also, now that Distance Learning 2.0 is starting, we're going to be doing grades again. During the first part, we didn't really do grading. We were getting adjusted to it. We didn't want to give out a bad grade, not because that was a result of lack of access as opposed to lack of knowledge. We don't want to penalize someone for not having a computer or not having fast internet access. But for the last 3 weeks, the district has been working very hard to try and eliminate those barriers. And like I said at the very beginning, if you're having issues with internet or device access, let me know and we will do our best to resolve that as quickly as possible for you. But grading does begin on Monday. Now, that doesn't mean there's going to be a grade on Monday, but that week, we're going to start seeing grades go in. Okay. At a minimum, we're looking to see 1 grade per subject per week. That's a minimum. And we kind of have to be flexible with that because I can't just give a quiz and say, okay, here's time the quiz, because even though you might have access, you might not be online at the same time that I'm online. So one thing I hope you've seen is that there's a lot of flexibility as getting work done. So as you get things done, that is fine. And with that in mind, we're also going to slightly change the way work is being assigned. At first, it was like, okay, here's the work for today, and then here's the work the next day, here's the work for Tuesday, here's the work for Wednesday, and that wasn't working for everyone. So then this week I said, okay, here's some assignments on Monday, and then on Wednesday I gave out some new assignments that kind of went with it. But what the district is urging us to do is on Monday say, here are the assignments for the week. Here are your math assignments, here are your science assignments, here are your social studies assignments, whatever the course is, here it is for the week. Now, I started putting that together for next week, and all of a sudden, like, that looks like a long list, which is one of the reasons I was trying to do it in pieces at the beginning. I didn't want anyone to say, okay, oh my goodness, as they look down the list. Now, I am not adding to the workload that we've been seeing these first 2 weeks. But I'm just going to give it to you all at once so that you can help your child pace it whatever is appropriate for them and your situation. But that is going to come starting on Monday. So on Class Dojo, I will post I'll probably save it as a Word document and then attach the file. That way you can save it, look at it, print it out, check it off as you go. You don't have to print out this, just if you can. That way, whatever your child is looking at it, they just cross, okay, did that, cross it off, did that, cross it off. That's one way to look at it. That, I think, is the major thrust of, communication, last thing. As I said earlier, I am trying to go back and forth as quickly as possible. The delays you're seeing on Class Dojo and other platforms, I'm experiencing also. So if I'm not answering your question as quickly as you'd like, there's a chance I haven't seen it yet. When I see it, I am answering as quickly as possible. Officially, my office hours are supposed to be 9:30 to 12:30. I think you've seen I've been posting and answering outside those office hours. And if we do the most part of it during the office hours, that's fine. And if a follow-up question happens, I'm okay answering those questions outside my official office hours. Email Class Dojo is fine. Earlier this week, I did send out a survey asking you about how you want to communicate moving forward, either doing the daily code for Class Dojo, individual login for Class Dojo, or switching to Microsoft Teams. The only thing there was consensus about was don't switch to Microsoft Teams. The district is pushing us to use Microsoft Teams. There are a lot of benefits to it. I know you might not have seen it, but we're comfortable with Class Dojo, so we're going to continue using Class Dojo. But what is going to change is instead of doing the daily codes, I am going to send everyone individual credentials. You no longer have to wait for me to give you the class code to log in. Once you have your child's credentials, those don't change. Those are good until the end of the year. And as long as they're in my class on Class Dojo, those credentials will work. You can even set up just for auto-save password with your kids. You put it in the first time, auto-save it, and they never have to log into Class Dojo again. It's all set for them. So before Monday, I will send out those credentials to you individually. Be on the lookout. I'm probably going to do that directly through a Class Dojo message. That's the easiest way to do that. Okay. And that, I'm going to open it up now for questions. If you have a question, you can go ahead and unmute yourself. I would ask that when you're done asking your question, you go back and return yourself to mute so that there's less crosstalk, so we can all hear each other's answers and questions.
Mr. Slater, I had a question regarding the placement exam that we had last year. I believe it was the SAT. Are you anticipating that going to happen this year, or are they going to waive that this year?
Okay, that's an important question. Thank you for asking that. First and second graders normally take the SAT test every year. In fact, I think it was scheduled to be today. Or no, maybe it's scheduled to be next Monday. When Governor DeSantis closed the schools, they also canceled all SAT testing and FSA testing. That's not such a big deal for first and second graders, especially when you're already in the gifted class. Previous years, sometimes SAT scores are used as a preliminary identifier for students who might qualify for gifted. If you see someone scoring in the 90th percentile or higher, they might be referred for gifted assessment. That's not an issue that any of your students have. They're already qualified. So they're not going to have any real repercussions from not taking the SAT. But that has been canceled, and that is not a worry for anyone.
Mr. Slater?
Yes.
No.
I have a question. How come they have into the day right now? They have been having lots of assignments and work to do. How can we be sure that you've been receiving all the works and that they're doing fine on their assignments?
Okay. Well, starting next week, where we have our greater amount of accountability, I'm going to have to start messaging people and asking, okay, is there an issue? Is there something I can help you with when I see that hasn't been completed? Now, with having the weekly, weekly agenda or weekly schedule for what's to be done that week, that should be helpful also, because now you can say, okay, did you do this? Did you do number 2? And you can check off and make sure you're doing it. And then at the end of the week, I can go in and say, okay, Martha didn't do this particular iReady lesson. What happened? And I can send you a message. So if I am missing something from you, I will contact you.
Okay. I have another I'm confused because in this case, I don't know if first graders have to do like an assignment that has to be uploaded in the PE or like the PE classes.
Okay. I am not sure how special area teachers are doing it. I kind of know that because I see it through Julian and Evan, where I get the messages and it's like for music, there was an assignment that Ms. Hernandez gave, and I think they had to write something down. And in fact, I have it sitting over here. He asked me to take a picture and send it to Ms. Hernandez. So you can scan it and send it. You should be able. I'm trying to think if you can message them directly through Class Dojo. I'm not sure. I think you can. You could also email to their emails, and I'd have to look up their emails to get them to you, but you can also look them up as well. But there are ways to send those through ClassDojo or email directly to them. Right. I can get a little more information about that if you're having difficulties.
Okay, thank you.
And I also have to add, technically, first graders do not have music, art, or PE. Art class is the only one that does, and that's a scheduling issue. So technically, your student, if you have a first grade student, you don't have to worry about music, PE, or art. I would say go ahead and do it anyway, because I know my kids are really enjoying that part of it. That's like, as much as it pains me, the math is not their favorite part of the day.
I have a quick question about the science book.
Yes.
Now, Brady is enjoying doing the book, but
Okay.
every time it has like a download, then you have to, it tells you to do it off to the side. I do know that there's capability to underline and circle within the text, and we figured that out on this last assignment.
Okay.
So I didn't see any part that we had to really download, but the first assignment you had sent, there's stuff to download.
Okay.
How do you want us to do that?
Okay. Through the science book, I can assign sections of it. Now, when your kids are looking at the science book, that's the exact same pages they were looking at in the physical copy. It's an online version of it. It's interactive. And there are places I believe it's referred to as either notebook or class notebook on the science page itself. Or if there's a question, they can go ahead and type in their response and it's saved. So they can go ahead and do that. I believe the part you're referring to is the investigations. Some of the investigations are doable at home. One comes to mind, there's a third grade one that was compare two different flowers. So Julian was able to go outside, pull off two different flowers to complete that investigation. There was another investigation, I think, for second grader was get some seeds, plant the seeds, and watch it grow for 2 weeks. That one was not really doable. Right. Or if it was doable, 2 weeks have not passed, so you haven't been able to do that in a timely manner. But they're embedded as part of the lesson, and I can't exclude them when I say, okay, look at these pages. I can't say, okay, do pages 67 and 68, skip 69 and do 70. Okay. So if it's an investigation that you are able to do, that's fine. If that's an investigation that you are not able to do, that's also fine. I will not grade any of the investigations. That doesn't mean they're not worthwhile. They're good experiences. And if you can do them, that's great. But I also understand that there are some of them that are either not doable for everyone or only doable for some people. And I'm not going to penalize anyone for that.
Okay, thank you. I guess I'll go ahead and ask this. I know my older son is using Classroom, Google Classroom to do a lot of communicating and sending papers and quizzes and so forth via a Gmail account. Is that something that you might look into, or?
Google Classroom is a lot like Microsoft Teams. The two are have a lot of similar features. And again, if we're going to switch to something, I would switch to Teams. But at this point, I really don't want to switch platforms since everyone is at least very comfortable or familiar with ClassDojo. I think Ms. Vega is trying to use Google Classrooms with the third graders. So I get a better feel for how that's working, because as I see it through Julian's perspective. But at this point, we're going to stick with ClassDojo since it's what we're familiar with. I would guess that Derek might not have been using ClassDojo previously, so they had to add something new. If I was going to add something new, I would probably go to Teams. But since we already have an existing platform we are familiar with, I'm just going to continue using that.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Are there any other concerns or questions that I can address?
Hi, Mr. Slater. This is Alexandra, Ariana's mom. How are you?
Hi there.
I joined late. I'm sorry. I was in another Zoom meeting.
That's okay, because I said at the very beginning, this meeting is being recorded, so I'm going to post the meeting. So if there's a parent who wasn't able to attend or not able to see all of it, you can go back and rewatch it.
Perfect. So I don't know if it was mentioned already or not, but when it comes to some of the assignments with all the teachers sending, the dojo, I think the dojo works. It's easier. The parents have access. The kids can see it as well. Sometimes for me, it has been very, very difficult to keep Ariana on task. As you know, her limitations. I give her the assignment. She knows what it is. But sometimes she really needs my attention. Is there going to be consideration if she doesn't finish the assignments per the day that it was assigned, like have Fridays, for example, the day where the kids can catch up and, with any work or whatnot?
Yeah, that was addressed earlier, but it's a very simple answer. The answer is yes. There's a lot of flexibility with our timeframes. One thing I said earlier was that on Monday, I'm going to be giving out all the assignments for the week. And the goal is to finish those assignments by Friday. One thing that you might have noticed is that if there's an iReady assignment or Khan Academy, if the deadline's passed, the assignments don't go away. It might say past due. It might say, they might have the due date there, but the assignment is still there for them to complete. And no one is being penalized for late work. Everyone's circumstances are different. We're being very flexible, giving all the considerations of what's going on. All right. As long as it gets done, that's what's going to be graded. And I think it was Martha's mom earlier was asking, if I'm missing something from you, I'm going to be reaching out to you to see if there's something I can help you with in order to get it done.
Perfect. And then the other question that I do have, I see it, for example, with Anaida, they've been using Dojo and they have like a portfolio on the Dojo. Is that something that you're going to be using with the students because the students have their individual accounts and that's perhaps a way for them to post the assignments?
What's going to happen is I'm going to be attaching a Word document to a classroom story post so that it can be saved and it can be downloaded or printed, whatever is going to work best for Anaida or anyone else. Sometimes having the physical thing in front of them and say, okay, oh, look, I can check this off. I know sometimes I like to make a list just so I can check things off. I might already have completed the item if I put on a list anyway, just so I can check it off. It makes me feel better. Definitely makes my wife feel better just to check things off the list.
Okay. Because the thing about that portfolio, like I have seen, like Anaida obviously is in middle school, but perhaps it's, it's good for the kids. They enjoy posting their assignments on the portfolio and it gives them another tool to learn how to use the class Dojo. Just an idea.
I like the suggestion. I'm just not sure how it's going to work for us. It might be something we're using social studies. Whereas for math, it might not be the best format for turning in work.
Okay.
Okay, now I know I said this was going to be a half hour. We were run about 10 minutes late, which I'm fine with. But I do have another meeting at 8 o'clock with the third grade parents. So I have a little bit more time before I have to say goodnight. But if I've answered everyone's questions, that's also okay.
Yeah, I had a question for you. You mentioned earlier about them logging in every day. So if our children are logging in every day, how do I check to make sure it counted? Because, I would assume it will count, but is there a way to go back and know if maybe it didn't register that I need to reach out to you to have you guys look into it?
Are you talking about for attendance there?
Correct.
Okay. I actually don't see the attendance report. The principal, Ms. Hernandez, will see the report the next day. So I think if we see an issue with attendance, Ms. Hernandez will reach out to me and then I'll reach out to you. Again, that's going to be a new thing we're figuring out starting Monday. So we will see how it works. So we don't even know what the report's going to look like, or how quickly Ms. Hernandez is going to get it. Like, okay, maybe it takes 2 days to get, I don't know.
Okay, and then the other thing, I think the biggest challenge I have is, I appreciate the posts you're putting, but they're buried in with all these other teachers. So you mentioned you're going to do a Word document once a week with all the assignments. I think for me, it's more challenging just to find all your stuff mixed in with all these other people that have nothing to do with my son. So is it, you're going to use Teams at all? I know you said that the majority are not going to use it, but are you going to use it for those that may want to use it?
I'm not going to split platforms like that. If the issue is the work getting lost in the class story, I think I might be able to send it through a direct message, in which case it'd be in your own personal message between yourself and myself.
Yeah, somehow his other teacher sends it through, I don't know if the other parents see it this way, but for yours, it's in a general area. For the other teacher, Ms. Vega, it's like in a separate direct message where I think everybody sees it and it's totally separate.
Well, what I can do is I can send I guess like it's an email blast, or it's a message blast to all the parents. And I can put the file through there. Is that preferable to putting it in the class story?
I mean, the other have to chime in, but for me, I just know that I'm constantly, looking for your name, looking at what you're putting, and then looking at the other posts to see, okay, does this have something to do with my son or not? To try and keep up with your stuff, where Miss Vega, I go to one source and see everything she's talking about.
Mr. Sherman, are you looking at the messages in your parent portal, access, or the student?
I'm looking at mine. I mean, this is a lot new for me because I didn't know.
It's new for all of us.
Yeah, I didn't know where the discovery book was and all that, and I'm trying to piece all these different messages together.
Because if you go to the student specific profile, when it goes to the stories, for example, in Ariana, I can only see Mr. Slater's post. But
Okay,
I'm in her profile, not the parent profile. When I'm in the parent profile, I see exactly what you're saying. I see all the teachers, the principal, everyone posts everything. And yes, it can get lost. But if you go to the student's actual account, it only posts in the stories, the teachers.
Gotcha. Well, I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't know why Mr. Slater was posting those daily codes to begin with until recently. So I thought maybe I had to go in both, in his and then in mine. And then the last thing is, you mentioned music, art, and PE isn't for the first graders. But for the art that he is doing, should we try and figure, I don't know who his art teacher is, but should I try and figure out who that is? So what I do
There's
have
only one
doing?
art teacher for the school, and that's Mr. Baquero. And yes, well, technically, first grade does not have art, which is, if you look at Bryson's report card, you notice there's no art or music or PE grade there. But they go to those classes every day, or weekly at least. So if Bryson did this, I think this week it was the funny whale. So if Bryson drew his funny whale and he wants Mr. Baquero to see it, by all means, send it in to him.
Is it possible that you can send me who his art and PE and what was the other one? Music is? Yeah, because even though the school isn't giving him assignments, I'm trying to dedicate some time so he is doing different arts and crafts and things like that as well.
Good, that's important. It can't just be just the core classes. I would encourage everyone to be doing a variety of activities with their children. One thing we have right now is an abundance of time. So I'm trying to make the most of it here with my children, and whether it's, we're training for a virtual 5K right now. I think it's the Home Alone virtual 5K. So we're running some mornings, and then different art assignments that they have time to do when they want to share. And so now they're, in addition to the regular art assignment, now I have lots of copies of, Harry Potter insignias. So try to find those different ways to really enrich their day, enjoy the time with them. 20 years from now, we're going to be looking back at this and say, oh my God, what happened? And a lot of it's going to have to do with the perspective we kept on it. Yes, what's going on right now is serious, and in some ways, what we're going through now, I don't know if we've experienced anything since World War II, as far as something that's affected the world on a scale of this magnitude. Hopefully this is a once in a lifetime occurrence, but we're going to look back in this in 20 years, and we can either think of the time that we were all terrified to go outside, or as the time we had to connect with our family and loved ones and enjoy ourselves with them. We really want our kids to look back on it like that. I don't want my kids to grow up and say, oh, this horrible thing happened that affected me for the rest of my life. I want them to say, well, I remember that time we got to play all day, Dad, or remember that time we got to do all these activities together. Like, I missed that time. So I'd encourage everyone to try to put the best face on this as possible for our young children.
And Mr. Slater, thank you for posting the chapters that you've been reading for the kids on YouTube. That's very encouraging for them. They really appreciate it. Ariana says that's one of their favorite things to do in class with you. So for them to be able to see that, it's, at least Ariana enjoys it, and it's very encouraging.
I am trying to continue that. It takes me a little while to edit the videos. Nicole will attest to that. And then each time I post something, I try to make the video a little bit better. I'm also going to try to keep on to post another Mr. Slater music video. So we'll see how that goes. But I miss doing those things with your kids also.
Thank you. That really shows that you have your hands full at home with 3 kids and a family, and we understand, but thank you, because that shows your commitment to the kids, and we appreciate that.
Well, if you're there for open house, I hope you remember that it was more than just the math and science that I care about when it comes to teaching your kids. So I'd like to continue that as much as possible also. Character development matters more than math development.
Thank you.